Hey guys, Yuliya here. So it's finally warm enough to get outside and start spring cleanup. So what I'm going to do today is cut these ornamental grasses that I have in the garden. I have to prune a hydrangea, so I might as well show you how to do that. I also bought this shredder that shreds a material like this ornamental grass or old leaves. And I try to keep as much of the organic matter in the garden as possible. And I do compost. I have a couple of compost piles in the garden, but I want to make mulch from something like this right away and mulch some of my beds. So I used to use pruners or an old knife to cut my ornamental grasses. But last year, I finally bought a trimmer and it's been life-changing. I actually have some hedges in the garden that I also trim with this. And what happened is that my friend reached out to me and she's like, hey, let's do 50-50. Let's split the cost of this trimmer. And we did, and it's great. It's very low likelihood that we need this at the same day or at the same time. So sometimes I take the trimmer, sometimes she takes the trimmer. So if you pitch in with a friend of yours or maybe a neighbor for a tool, it makes a lot of sense, I think, because most of the time you don't really use it. Anyway, this thing is amazing for cutting ornamental grasses. I don't know why I struggled for like 10 or 15 years cutting my ornamental grasses with a pruner, because this takes literally 1 minute. So I'm just going to go ahead and start cutting all of the ornamental grasses, and then I'll show you how to prune the hydrangea. How cool is that? All right, that was incredibly easy. And what used to take me about 10 minutes with the pruner or a knife takes about 1 minute to cut this much grass. And before I trim the grass, I actually tie it with the rope. This way it's nice and neat. If I decide to dispose of it or decide to compost it or shred it, in my case, I can carry it around without it flying all over the place. So I cut my ornamental grasses to about 4 inches tall because that has a very neat look to it. You can cut it to about 4 to 6 inches, but I would not go any higher than that. Anyway, so I'm going to cut the rest of the grasses and then the hydrangea. Before I start shredding the grass, I just wanted to show you these sweet snowdrops. So nothing is happening in the garden yet. There's some hellebores blooming, but look at these sweet snowdrops. And I added some pansies in those pots because I just needed some color so bad. So these snowdrops actually seeded themselves from under the maple tree. So the maple tree used to have thousands of snowdrops, but you see this year it's actually a bad snowdrop year because we had a lot of snow cover, and I think the snow cover really made a difference in the quality and the quantity of snowdrops. I mean, they're so sweet though. There's another little patch of snowdrops right here, right by the witch hazel amethyst that has been blooming, gosh, I think since January. And it has the most amazing purple, like flowers that are fragrant. Bees love them. All right, so that's the shredder right there. I'm actually going to pull my hair into a ponytail because I'm sure everything's gonna be fine, but I don't want my hair to get caught up in this. It does not have a blade. It has a string like a trimmer would. I actually need to get my glasses too. Hold on. All right, so I got my glasses here and I'm going to start feeding this shredder with grass. So this is a shredder, it's not a chipper. It can't handle wood or branches. It can only handle soft material like leaves or grass, which is perfectly fine. I have a lot of it in the garden. So let me put my glasses on and get started. All right, you guys, this thing is loud for sure, but it does work. So I put a bag on the bottom here before I started shredding, and you secure it with these rubber bands here. So let's just open it and see what happens. Whoops. Look at this. Oh my gosh. Oh, I love this. So if I were to put this in a compost pile, oh, this would be such a great addition. So from that, which will take a very long time to break down, to this, which will take no time to break down, love this. So I'm actually going to mulch the vegetable garden with this today. But one thing I wanted to show you is I actually did not shred the tops of the grasses because I don't want to introduce any seeds in the compost or anywhere else in the garden. So I stop at the tops right here, but everything else looks great. All right, so I planted some stuff in the garden already. This bed has kale and lettuce that I planted a couple of days ago. And this bed actually has some things that overwintered, like this red giant mustard. It survived 9 degrees temperature, survived 2 feet of snow, which is incredible. It is very beautiful, actually. I would even consider including it in my ornamental beds because the foliage is gorgeous and it's very spicy. You only need 1 leaf for your salad to spice it up. I also have some cilantro that overwintered, and I planted some arugula a couple of days ago in here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to mulch it with the grasses that we just shredded and then water everything in so it doesn't fly away. All right, you guys, so this is the hydrangea that I'm going to prune today, and I hope you can hear me okay because it's rush hour and there are tons of cars passing by. But this hydrangea here I replanted last year from the main border because it was outgrowing its space, and it took replanting really well. It didn't miss a beat. It even bloomed profusely last year. So these are very resilient plants. And this is a Hydrangea paniculata or panicle hydrangea. I am not certain of the variety because I bought it so long ago. I lost the tag and I just don't remember. But I'm almost certain that it is tardiva. And tardiva is a really excellent panicle hydrangea It has very strong stems that never flop, and it's just a great structure. It is a larger plant. They can grow quite big, but what I'm starting to notice on this hydrangea is that it's starting to get congested because it is so old. So all of the old branches right here are starting to get really gray and old, and one of them is even showing some sort of sign of disease. So that is the first thing I'm going to do today, is remove one of these branches to create new growth, and that's how you rejuvenate the plant, because if you don't do that, it's just going to start getting older and older. But you have to create these new shoots right here. So for example, last year I cut one of the branches, and look, it created nice cinnamon color branches that are going to create new structure for this plant. So I am almost 100% sure that I'm going to remove this branch right here because it is so old. It's very thick. It's starting to flake. There is some sort of disease right here, and I think it will help with the congestion. And then I'm just going to go ahead and start cutting the old flowers from last year. And because this hydrangea blooms on new wood, these lateral growth right here, they will create new shoots that will bloom this year. So let me get started. All right, so first I'm going to remove last year's flowers. I'm going to go down to 3 buds right here. So these lateral buds will create new shoots and flowers on them. 1, 2, 3. You can go higher, you can go lower. It all depends on what size of the hydrangea you want this year. Again, paniculatas, you know, they require their own pruning schedule, because other hydrangeas like arborescens or microphylla, they're a little bit different. Microphylla, I prefer not to prune at all. 1, 2, 3, because a lot of them bloom on old wood. There are some newer varieties of microphyllas that bloom on both new and old wood, but if you don't know, I wouldn't touch microphyllas right now. The paniculatas are one of the easiest to prune because they bloom on new wood, so you can't go wrong with them. So actually this branch right here, this gray branch, and it's very thin, I'm going to remove it because thinner branches don't produce good quality flowers. And you really want to save as many of the cinnamon color branches that are very nice size, like this. Like this one right here, I really don't like it. This and this, just by the size, this one is definitely a winner. As for the timing of pruning, right now is a good time in my zone, Zone 6 Northern New Jersey. Any later, they will start to leaf out, and it is not a good time to prune. So anytime before you see buds start to swell, that's when you have to prune your panicle hydrangeas. So here's an example of branches rubbing against each other. So they will create a disease entry point right there. So I'm going to remove one of the branches. And finally, I'm going to remove this older branch right here to start rejuvenating the plant and also to decongest it. So it's pretty thick, and I'm going to use a saw for that. All right, here we go. It looks much better. Definitely more airy, a little bit decongested. And a couple of things, do not prune off more than 20% of the plant at one time. And again, right now, before the plant leaves out, is a good time to prune it. And if you are nervous about pruning hydrangeas or any other shrub, just start with dead branches first, and it's going to give you a little bit more courage to handle everything else. All right, you guys, this is it for today. I hope you learned something new, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Hey. What? Are you singing? Yeah, that's a good boy. That's a good boy. Hi. Can you sit? Can you sit? Can you sit? Can you give me 5? Oh, good boy. Give me 5. Good job. Good job.